Everybody today? Full of energy? Excellent. All right, so today is the last day that we actually are going to do a full day of teaching.
Da tiri bana nga su nima kanza la yan zinra tregi ani ti kasa nima thamati chagiyes.
So I want you all to celebrate with me. Raise your hands, smile.
I'm
trying to get all of you. There you go. Good. Thank you. Excellent. It's always a pleasure, being here and teaching you all. So today we are going to change gears. Now, throughout this week, we have spoken about development, the way cells work, the way we have mutations and so forth. And basically today we're going to talk about what happens when the whole system fails. When the cell cycle fails, DNA replication fails, we have mutations, and we end up with abnormal growth, which we call cancer. So for the first session for today, we're going to focus throughout our discussion and throughout what we learn, answering the question, what is cancer? Our objectives for today, throughout our different sections, we're going to define cancer and the levels of lethality, how lethal different cancers are.
We're going to
talk about the cycle that essentially promotes cancer and continuous cancer within the body. In the last few days, Kelsey has done a really good job on talking about genes and cells, and we're going to talk about different types of genes known as oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes. We're going to talk about the most important gene, tumor suppressor gene, known as P53, and how it relates to our protection against cancer. We're going to talk about how interaction with the environment, sunlight, smoking, drinking, exposure to toxins can actually increase our incidence to cancer. For the afternoon session, after lunch, we're going to explore different treatments of cancer, and each group will select a specific type of cancer, and you're going to teach us various ways to treat them and possibly even finding a cure for specific cancers.
아니 조딩아 속에 디네라야 르나소치오와 디네르나소요 바데다게 아니 고 죄탑디 간다로 지게 멘텔라타게 인스티스 담발라야 냥권 잡라 카르치고레스나 로카리레레고네 dine mando dam dine mando dam de tan dine mando te ta la ya chithe kare kare tan ya chi du ro yang na yang kars ge chithe cha mai ba be te trakchi chi ya la ya ro trakchi chi chi ge chung ya la ya tham kan dan ro chi yo ba te che sun zin dra na ne nyung kong jab lan du sin ro kha su su gu ne zin dra thya ge che gu te dra ins.
When we talk about cancer stages, because cancer does have different stages, we're going to have an activity where you're going to do sequential drawings where you have the different stages showing one after the other.
Ta tanda dige jela yang asu zendra tripi kaps kariyam gare sena ani drene la ya ramba mando mambu dwa drene ge ramba mando mambu ti kola nga sun deshe jabi kaps ne chetsu la ya ani remote ya ge ta chegu chigdus dryes ta chegu ti kandas dryes stambala ya ani drene ge ramba re ne ramba jenda la ya kandas phegu yo ba ge nang se ta chetsu ge remula chidus chegu dugures.
Good?
Yes sir.
Excellent. All right, so I believe Kelsey may have already spoken about this, so we're going to have a very brief review about mutations.
Da de ko la again kesi la gi kesang asula ya desi chichon ba yo res ro ane tanda nga su gi choose sila de ane ji yang she chi jogins.
So if we recall, we have the wild type, the non-mutated sequence, right? You will go through the central dogma, DNA, RNA, protein. So we're happy, we're good.
That decarases Nambala Tampote Coranta, Namjin Karimba, Jindin Karimba, Resra, Delaya, Ninjuteo Maris, Tampolaya, DNA, Tigila RNA, Tilatendeta, Tizitu, Tata Deores.
So we know that there is a silent mutation where we go from C to G, but yet, because of the repetition of the coding, we end up with the same amino acid. So even though we have a mutation, we end up with the same sequence, same protein sequence.
Ta tanda de ka sem bana ngasula ya ninjir chi jongo yores ta tampo te bana ngome ge ninjir te res ro ngome ninjir te bana konang ge ngasu ge reze ge changda chikna ne trapcha chilan juran go res picha sha pa na ga te la ya siti ji ge ju ja go ro siti ji ge ju ja pa bana thamala ya ngasula ya amino churji tripic capsule ro amino acid amino churji tripic capsule kula ya juramendo ro This Tambalaya and a dick of Simbana de la Gomechi that and the Gishin Chambuchio Mares, Takunaya, Ninja Chimbari da Imbanaya, Emino Chizilla Jurachio Mares.
So these are mutations that even though they're not quite deleterious, they're not quite dangerous, they are still a mutation that can interact with other mutations.
That under the Kasimbana Kurwa, Ninja Res, Yanka Chamber Mares. Imbanaya ninja jenta yang ko dochi dete ko nyenka chambuchage ani kola ya sichati yores.
So we have the missense, we know about this. We go from CGC to TGC, and now we're changing the amino acid and we are changing the structure of the protein.
That the water carrier system balaya turn lores, rather turn logores, the inchichapan missense to the toton lores, the sini tila chagores, sini tila juripacapsa, tilatine de tangasole, amino churjicra, juradugua, the yungores.
So if we go from arginine to cysteine, we're fundamentally changing the function of the protein. It may not be functional.
The Tanda de Casimbana so. Gangatila Agnir, do Atima assistant Chapi Caps, Stako, Tizila in Jurandu Caps, Tizil and Juratambata, Tanda Tila Etas, and Nitila Yopi, Tiziti, Cheli, Kuranjuandu, or Nistambalaya, and Yankachamuchagores.
So now we are no longer happy, right?
That de Capsena, Natsu Goyo Maris, Tadi Tata Chigio, Manochigores.
We have a nonsense mutation where we are adding a stop where it should not be. We are truncating the protein. We're making it much shorter than the wild type. Thus, it is a non-functional protein.
Ta tiki genetic system balang asula ya nonsense. Tome se ti orwa ta tome bationg gores. Ta tome bationg stambala ya kunyinju tabalatene paruchila ya zoda chilegu yores. Zoda chiles tabalaya ngoma tizi rimbu yo pat tizi chinthon du yorwa. Tizi chinthon ton stambalaya tizi ti cheli me patan chagyores. Cheli me pa chagyores.
And of course, if we add a frame shift, we are not replacing a base, but we are inserting or even deleting a base, pushing everything forward or deleting everything back one space. And now every single amino acid will be different and the protein will be non-functional.
Ta shendachi kare system ngasu ngime dromjin de res. Ta ngime dromjin de imbana ngime dromjin jehtan ti kapsa ngasu 지 거기 다티기 찹티 찍찍이 지워 당해 된다고 말했어. 양만은 그거 바로 라칭 짓고 요래. 양만은 거기 장다치기 라고 요래스. 때 라발라 때네 데때 단다다 라사타 양나 주사티기 제기 아니 그거 딱 가서 만들어 차거라. 만들어 차거요자 아니 콜라야 틸라 템비 트리피기 트제 당하나 에미노 주제티 만들어 차거요래스. 만들어 차스tambalaya 타마톰비기 트제티 거기 아니 리카타토메치니 차거요래스.
And these are the worst type of mutations and the ones that are most associated to cancers.
다 단단히 바이나 로가 수그 니메게 돔지르게 닌지 니메 돔지치고 안데 다 딕슈테레스와 딕슈테 닌지르가네 딕슈테치 내가 수그 제네 단데와요 지기 닌지테 차기요레스.
Good. Excellent. A good analogy is, let's say we have a sentence, the wild type, time to dream. It's just a sentence. Just a sentence.
다 닌지 메피릭스 와일드 타입스거도 아팀 바이나 다 컴람통하기 til라레스.
If we have a silent mutation, well, we are changing the code, but the product, the protein is the same. So the sentence does not change, which is why they're called silent.
아하, 다 단다데 바이나 로와 데 그거 측그 지사지 마셔야 난던 슈슈 문두로 단다데 피차샤파인 바이나 ngomen injuries baina ngomen injure chungo da thamatela tela teni tripping skitela do yo maris time to dream like the melantong utires address.
If we have a missense mutation, we're changing one of those letters from time to tame. So now this changes the whole definition of the sentence.
Aha. Ta tanda te ola ya picha chapana missense ton lo pa baina ta gangla ya nang ni sikchin jwa tang do ko ninjur tembala ten de ta gangla time to dream said that two races ta ba what like time sig do time to dream like do und manda chagyores.
And let's say we have a deletion, a frame shift, we are deleting a portion of the wild type, everything shifts back one space, and now the sentence it doesn't even make sense. This means nothing.
Aha. 다 현대 인바나 가서게 이메 던지 가서고 스던 인바나 딜레이션 라고다 게테 나노 가노치 메파 차바 인바나 차마야 지 너시데던 담마텔라 가서 스크린데나 로트바나 고 드라크로용고요 마레스 난톤크로 고알레요 마레스.
Unless we have an insertion, we are adding another I to time, so now it's time, but everything shifts. Again, it does not make sense.
아하, 다 단다데 번지기 인주티레스 바로라치 주파인바나 단다데 값은 가서 아이 태파치 주파인바나 아니 고 단다데 록사두고 문도와라 내려 차고요레스.
And let's say we add a nonsense. Again, we are deleting. We're putting a stop after 2, so we are getting rid of dream. So time 2 doesn't really make sense. It is a non-functional protein, non-functional sentence.
하다 도메기 인주 디캅스 도메 인주 디캅스 가르치고 레스스탄발라 가서 그 조다치 메시지라 연구여와 조다티 연구여와 조다티라 연구데다 단다디카스다 tampoco 스크트텔라 시샤파나 스크트티게 time to 스탄티게 질라야 조다치라 스탄발라 티게 자우게 소마 마르파탄 샤르와 스탄발라야 딜라테네데다 가서 고알렌산 두고 마레스.
So when we talk about those genes, tumor suppressors and oncogenes, remember how they may relate to specific kinds of mutations.
아하. 다단다 디경월라 가서 그 르지만도 아니 케체셰송아스와 디네게 르지치기다 아니 가서 그 땡고 르지세니 데시자송아스. 다데다야 단데딜라야 닌제만도 카시도가 어디다 요레스.
So just a review of how mutations work and an analogy of how they can be visualized.
아하. 다데가레시스 남발라 가서 그 닌주르세디 간다로 지기 중고요메다 닌주르세디게 르게테다라야 아니 지 고알레게 제대로와 네 지 고알레 답두요나 제대로라야 지 비춘거 건데 거바지. Yes.
So when we think of what cancer is, the basic definition of cancer, it is defined as single cells that have acquired a certain trait of uncontrollable growth.
아하. 다가서는 레네세텔라야 아니 그거 센니치 샤파인바나 카레세세나 아니 다 차풍 치라바질라야 스와 차풍 치라바질라야 아니 당진지 마트비기 차규지에게 젤리치 총바인바나 어딜라야 레네스기요레스.
So you may have, for example, normal tissue. You may have in the origin of abnormal cells. They grow uncontrollably, and furthermore, they may invade other tissues within the body.
아하. Ta dada di kasim bana tambo de la ngasu de la ya ko phontu ta ko ta jinde bi phontu chi ta de la ya ko jinde main bi phontu chi chong bai bana ta de kasim bana jinde main bi phontu de la ya ko tangzin ku yo ma ko chagu de la ya tangzin ku yo ma dis tambala ya chagu chi ge ne zupu gi nona yo pi gi thapon jenda la shikchin tri yores.
So two parts, uncontrollable growth and invasion of tissue around the body.
Ta de kare system bala ne to ni chago res chi kare na dene gi rigdi chi gorwa ote te ko ta ngom ba se gorwa ta che ba ro ote res tangpo te ro ni ba te kare system bala ya ani te zupu chashi jenda la cha ba te res.
And of course, this abnormal growth and invasion of the body comes from mutations in the DNA sequence within the genome.
Aha ta tanda digero dig na ne ko zupu chashi jenda la chabya te kare la te ne ngore system bala rigdi gi ninju la te ne chungo res.
Okay. Some basic numbers about cancer. 1 in 3 people around the planet will develop a type of cancer, and 1 in 5 will die from a particular type of cancer.
Nahanta tanda de ko ge neton chi she bai bai na nga su zamling gang ge mi sumja chi la yan dinen jong yo pa tan ane nga cha chi te ko ndila te ne de chi ge yores.
And again, this may be due to predisposition, which may be from your genetics, your interaction with the environment, exposure to UV, perhaps smoking, other activities that may predispose you to be exposed to toxins. And again, those rates of cancer may decrease or decrease according to the behavior.
Ta tanda ge ro ande ta kare system bala ya chi bai ba nga su ge chi the thomanyen le ta khula yo pi ge rizila tani chong ayin gre chi bai na khori gla tani de te khori gla tani chong ba dinda yo gre special na ya shenda ge chi tu jin ro pha pa ta thama tem ba ta chi or wa o te ta la tani chong go res ti nan shen ge ya shenda ba na ne so so ge si chu ta cholam la tani de te ya ko dine te chi bai na ya ko chi kar su gre dut twa ta khashi ba na tene ya ko yak do ge ne tan de jong res.
There are around 200 different types of cancers known currently. And what is really unique is that each cancer has unique cases, symptoms, and treatments.
Ta tanda ndusta bai bai na halam nga su dine ge rig te ro ni ja cham si ore swa ta te la ya ko re la ya ko dine ge ju kari men da ya na ne ta ta ju thap la so ba man do yo res.
And of course, asking, well, how is it likely that I will get cancer? Again, that will depend on all kinds of factors: age, lifestyle, genetic makeup, behavior, interaction with the environment. All those factors come in, they interplay, and they may vary your predisposition to any given cancer.
Ta ya rizige ta chitang ge ban dine ta yang tigen ne cheta pa ge chin dine cheta pa chi mi chi la joy ge ta ko jong halo ka so yere sa te yang mampu chi la ra lig res ta ta picha sha pa ban na ro mi ti ge lo che ta chwa che ta ta rize ta tane ko khorik na ne ko kari kari chi la ya ro yong yo me ta ro su su ko cholam ta ta na su chi la ya ten de te ne khashi la ya yang dine ri chi chi la ba ta khashi chi la ya dine ri chi chi la chi kar su ko che bi ge ka chung wa ten de yo res.
So you may recall, earlier in the week we saw Kelsey's karyotype. This is not Kelsey's, this is just another example, but I was actually quite, it was a really good example that we got to see her karyotype.
Ta tanda de la ya nga su me ge da jundeng ge me ge chuizu ge pangram ching du sko sha yes ro tanda de gen khasi la te mare chirgin bana de khasi la mare jenda pi chun chi shi ba yen sin tanda khesang go nga su gen khasi la ge ko ge chue phong ge chi taram chi ro wa o de nga su thong thyo te pe ya go chong sons.
So this is just a regular normal karyotype showing the normal pairing of each chromosomes. Of course, XY for a male, XX for a female.
Ta tanda de ba na nga su jindeng ge mi ta chi chir tang ba jindeng kwa ke me pi ge mi chi ba ma de na ya chue phong te ko cha kana kana chi tu yo me te ta da ola im ba na nga su la ya pu im ba na XY tam pu im ba na XX yo ba te du sten sha yo res.
But now, when we have abnormalities within the genome, we end up with chromosomes that do not pair correctly. So we end up with a very abnormal karyotype.
Ta ketis ro ketinga su ge rizige genome gna la ya tanda chepon te ko chat ge te ta ma du pai ba na stila chon shor pai ba na nga so la ya ne chepon chan sa sun chi yor wa data chadigate and jinden tamaim big ngulandus yungres.
You see, for example, chromosome 1 has now 3, 4, 6 pairs, which is not normal. Chromosome 2, very different pairing, 5 pairs in 3. Again, all the pairings are completely abnormal.
That under the layo pig ko change sum kanza imbaina ko tata dayo mares, John Shobares, Tigala, Tambutela, Tuxtua, Roa, within the Chagores.
And it just comes to show that the cell cycle has broken down. Chromosomes are replicating at abnormal rates, abnormal numbers, and they are unable to pair correctly.
That under the Kapsaka system, so the genetic chompi kapsimana Kashigoresana could trapon chaguti tatachi marwa, chagutachi matubi capsus gorata, the code on telaya, John sure that they let andangatsu ponte chadigate tatangomers. One question is it from a single person or
Yes.
Okay.
I have this right here. Yes.
Okay. That thing it try to michiki that continue to michiki to ponge terves na teres on the letter.
So this particular example came from a breast cancer patient, and this particular person is showing not 23, which is a normal, but 78 chromosomes. Very, very abnormal.
That and then by Naro and the attention you get to ponge, Kupati caresses Tambalaya, Nasugi, Numagi, Nundios, Numalaya, and Deneusa. Ye nepachiki supongi chati dus tishayores tangasu chirtangi mi junden data me chimbana ngasula supongi chanisa sunyores tatandang mindelaya numigin deneyasa ye mindela sumbayambana and suponga sudu sestambale dunjindus.
So this just helps you understand how abnormal reproduction can take place and just how really a person with breast cancer does not have a functional genome.
That under the Kasimbana, Shirgi in Bana, Sugi, Karsuga, Rizzi de la Shanshopa in Bana, Strata, dig a netante Canada, Toya Chiche, and take Jelaya, and a Garsa, and a Sholaya, Tandangatsun Dineton, Numagin Dineton, then be Michilaya, and could Suponte, Suponte, and Alhapatangatsugi, Genome Gay, Nambati Latin data, Genome Gay, Lekayan Tatachi, Mepigi, Netanto do Sanguius.
Good.
So, caution.
Question, yes.
The curative abnormal jitenge do. The Quran the DNA posage numagi tabunchigi chromosome denzore chidam Qurange subo gansangi tabun samala chromosome number chipoyes.
So my question is this genome is from a single from a cell from the breast?
Correct.
Or
from the mass, where it's growing abnormally from the tumor, which I will talk about briefly what a tumor is. We get those cells from that abnormal mass, and within that abnormal mass, we get this type of pairing, which is non-functional.
So another follow-up question. This kind of genome will be shown from all cells from that person? Or
only from the cancerous cells.
Okay.
But what happens is that it can spread to other parts of the body. I'll talk about this in just a few minutes.
That under the condition against that under the Galaxy system, try to put Sarwako, Tandagi, Numagi Nundi, Numagi Dene, Banato, Taponching the race, Pugit some Tapon Samares, that in the Tambalaya, Tandag Dika system Balaya, Numagi Dene Posage, and you could Taponchikan on the Tonsha Juti race. Like thing as Zupu Kanzala to Sio Maria system Balaya, Zupu Kanza Kanlaya, that Dika system Balaya, Drene Posage Traponte, and a Swiss Ponte, Suzuki, Derechagores. The Kate is Ra, Tangatsukan Denete, Zupu Kanzala Chapa in Bina, and Zupu Kanza Traponte, then Dene Traponchago, Teletan, the youngest, then they could take Jelaya, Netaju Deshajains. This is
good question. Excellent.
Sopa Kalarasana, Ketchabujago to the
Excellent. Good. So let's talk about the distinction between tumor and cancer. We tend to use them interchangeably, but there is something different about them.
That under the Kapsanga Sugi 10 days at the Korlaya, Nick Kepach in the Shijagi Insra, and Sansam Layang Asugi, Tenetan, Denezikation Stambalaya, Pensulaya, Chipa in Badu, Chikasabla, Chipachutanga, Chopano, Deshijagdu, Simbana Keper, or teach Keper to Deshijagis.
So we have already established that cancer is uncontrolled and disruptive growth of cells which can invade everywhere in the body.
tang asu gangla thowa na je drene se de kare system balaya tangzin chi mitkachi ene jendala ya notsi chi tkini gi notsi je bachi ni gi ane ko thapung ko charchi chi res timse ane te latne de ko zupu gi chashi jendala dus chapt ki res.
So let's talk about what tumors are and how we define tumors.
Ta de jela nga su ge de la is tag ins ro ten se de kare me de la tag ins.
There are two kinds. Benign tumors, which benign meaning non-damaging tumors, are essentially uncontrolled but non-disruptive, meaning that they do have uncontrolled growth, but they do not disperse throughout the body.
Tang asuge ten la kecha shepi ka sem bana ten mando ani yores ta tangpo ten asuge jamten sa tres jambu sa dro ta jamten sa te ige karsa gore system balaya ko thapon te gi chagu che te tangzin chit kamare sro imai na ya ko karsna ko ga nochun chi kamare sro ko tangzin chit ko yomar dai ba ko tangzin chi matyo gone ko chagu chi go yor dai ba na jendala nochun chi go yomares.
A common example of benign tumors are called nevus or moles or birthmarks, which most humans have anywhere throughout their body.
Ta tanda dege nga sugen jamten ge pichi shaba imbaina tambote nga sugen jamten te karesana miwa yorwa nga su me ta zuputa kasa ko yorete na se birthmark leg doga tanda nga su buge chis tambala ya ta tenda doga man warwa o deta res ta tinga su zupu kasa ko la yon chupa tenda res din jamten res.
So in general, moles, and I'm sure many of you have moles, they do not hurt you, but you have to be careful not to expose them to sunlight.
Ta chitang ge bana me din yo pa bana nga sula no yang chi ga ma res ro yang ko nyima pha chi go ro o ti ge thela yang this is abso chi go res.
Why? Because a benign tumor can potentially become a malignant tumor.
Ta tanda nyima shita phoku chi ga yo ma re te zabso chi go se junsen ka re se na ta de mewa tin jamten imba kan shi la ro yang khola ya nyima mampu pho ba bana kho tin jamten ne ane tanda subten se go ta nyang ka chembu ge teng ngo la jira yo res.
Now the difference is that benign tumors, they do not disperse. Malignant tumors, they're uncontrolled growth, they attach to the circulatory system and they spread throughout the body. And that spreading we call metastasis.
Ta tanda dirwa dela ya tanda ge nga su subten chi imba na ro tanda ko ta subten la jurno ge jela ya ta jur subten system bala ya nga su thapong ge chagwe de la ya ko kar chi ge do tangbo de la ya ko tangzen chi mat ba che jenda no ya che ri do ga ne jela ya nga su khorcho malag na ro de te ne zu pu jenda la chap kre ro ta chapa de la ya nga su nyit chepa sa di pe chotang gores.
And the danger of metastasis is that once it spreads, it's going to attach to other places, causing abnormal growth throughout all the different organ systems in the body. And as we learned yesterday, there is a multitude of organ systems and they all can potentially fail if cancer spreads.
Ta tanda de kasa kare se na bai na ko nyut che pa imba na zupu sacha kasa ko la dro zupu kasa sacha kasa ko la dro bi kapsa ne ko phontu manda gang la jer dete ne ko geta notion chigre sta tela ko kasugre notion chi patang ane thapon jenda ge cheling gakpala so pachi gre nga chu khesan thomba na sen tela tene de ta ko karsugre ta wambu ko mala ta ro tetagla ya notion chi yores.
So it's always a good idea if you have moles which are benign, always check them, check their size, make sure that they're not growing and they're not becoming asymmetrical. If they are, they may have switched to a malignant growth and you have to have it removed.
You have to have removed.
So if moles essentially start growing or changing shape, you need to get it checked because you may have to have it removed by a doctor.
Okay. Ta kete mewa denda yo pa chiro ya te mewa denda yo pa embana ta ko ta ke dena ya go yo resra. Ya sam la ya ko ge chi chir do ya do ta sam ko zutan juran do la so pa yo pa embana ne member la ya ten chi de ko du ko th ba embana ya go yo res ta tim ba embana ka sana ko tina cha bi kap se kun jamten ne subten la juri ge mu ten ju yo res.
We good?
Yes sir.
Excellent. Don't know what happened here. Here we go. So let's talk about the cancer stages, about the different stages of cancer, and this will take us to our first activity for the day.
Ta tanda nga su ge dine ge ramba la ta ge yes ro dine ramba ti de ta ne de ge la ya nga su ge tirangi da che gu tang pu de ya yes.
So stage 0, right? This is the first stage of a cancerous growth, where cells or a very, very minute mass is detected somewhere in the body. And this is shown as a very small mass. One or two or just a few cells that are abnormal.
Ta ramba le ko imba na sta ra dine ge ramba le ko imba na ne kar su ko resa na nga su ge chapo nyo nyo chiktar wa khashi chikta ji ni chi du sta ngu la jur de te ko chag yo res bu gna la.
Stage 1, the next stage, the cancer cells are growing, and now you don't have just a few cells, but you have a small mass, an actual mass of a multitude of cells.
Ta ramba tampula le pa imba na ramba tampula le na kar su ko resa na dine ge thapon te chir do na me se ane ko sacha chila ya ta tampu ko ran chisa chi ko wa te la ya chi de ta chir du yo res.
Stage 3, the mass continues to grow and is now invading not far away but neighboring areas close by.
Ta ramba ni bala le pa imba na kar chi ko resa ta bala dine ge thapon te ta ko chi chi du ko wa jishin roshin da ko sacha jenda la ya ko ge yang ko rut ko yo mar de imba na ko ge drum ke sacha te sama du sa ge yo res.
Stage 3, now you have a very large mass compared to stage 0, 1, and 2, a substantially large mass, and now it's connecting to both the lymph system and the circulatory system.
Ta tanda ramba sambal le pa imba na ro ramba sambal le pe kapsa ramba le kor tang tang po nyo samba tang dar nyo tu chu simcha tang dar ba imba na ko chechong te chenbo cha go ga chechong te chenbo cha de tan dig kapsa ko kaun ru gre se na ane nga su ge ka sa de thasa mala ta de ni chusar mala ch to ga o de la ya chap ki res.
Stage 4, which is a very large mass, now it has connected to the circulatory system and it has spread through the body. What do we call this again? This is a question.
Ta tanda de kapsa ro ta ramba shibal le pa imba na ane ku chichen ru de te nga su ge de la ya korcho mala chi ro thak jelong korcho mala la the de te ane zupu chashi jamda la chap ko res ta chap ke ramba de la ka lag res nyurche sa de ro. So what's the
Metastasis.
yes
Right?
yes.
So in stage
Metastasis.
4, it is highly connected to the circulatory system and it's sending all those abnormal cells to everywhere in the body.
Ta tanda ramba shibal le pa imba na nga su ge nyurche sa di cha ge res ro ta di kap se imba na ko ge korcho mala thak ke jalam la ya ko shu chambo ge ta ko detu chi de te ane zupu cha she jenda la nga su ge de ge karsan dine chape ge thapon tu tang ge res.
Any questions about the 5 stages of cancer?
Uh-huh,
0, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Tanda de la ya dine ge ramba nga chin de se ja so as de ko la draw ayos.
Couple of questions? Yes?
Tabung korang ni gyagi kisi chiti zambala ni tabung korang ta kalau ada gyagi tang dau di nanglo ki tanda pena wanta mambu jira tabung nanglo la wanta dusu ki dus chini gyagi tang kisi re yana tabung korang
chagu
gyagi chiri dus to tang dire khandi do
chagu thapon ma do ro why he's talking about the brain tumor. When you talk about the brain tumor
Yes.
or the stage of the cancer, or
Right.
when you say like stage 4, when you
Right.
say the mass biggers, how that biggers is due to the division of the cells, or
Yes,
due to
yes, because it
increased
has
size in the organelles?
it's connected to the blood system, and by getting all the nutrients, it's growing larger and larger. And yes, all those cells go through mitosis, and they go through uncontrolled mitosis.
다 단다 데가서 이야로 가서 체로 시스템발에 그거 폼보데 체로 세거와 체로 시스템발에 도도스나 가서 그랬으나 아니 그거 차폰 차구지가 되지 그랬어. 라 가서 주폰지 지야지거라. 던도가 던데 당선지 그거 말와. 럭버도 단다 름바 시발레 시스템발에 슈참보도가 전세카레 시스템발에야 름바 시바 값은 가서 초코 jellamtan 콘 로아투샤도와 로아투샤 시스템발에야 차폰라 고야게 그게 시주던 니바 가서 빼야버라고 여러와. 시스템발에 그 차폰 A good
way to think about this is that cells within our body have a lifespan. They should not be alive for a long time. They have a certain number of replications and then they die. Well, cancerous cells don't have that. They become eternal, so they continue replicating when they should not be replicating.
다 가서 그 저기 인바나 가서 주포게 차폰라야 시샤바인바나 차폰 코랑코랑라야 쳔쳔지요레스라 가서 주포는 게 저던 거 차폰요 바인바나 저던 차폰라야 쳔쳔지요레스 고 젤리지드 바르텔라야 고 쳔쳔텔레바나 저거다 가서 차그지용 거와 인바나다 지금 가서 그 레네게 차폰다 지용라 시샤바인바나 고다 쳔쳔세데 요 말이스다 고데 쳔쳔메세데 가서 그랬으나 고 차폰 차그지 So you
may start with a small mass in your brain. If it's not detected, it grows, attaches to the circulatory system, to the blood system. It continues to grow until eventually it deattaches some cells. Those cells are sent out and they may end up in the lung or the testicles or the skin. So now you have brain cancer plus lung cancer plus skin cancer. That is known as metastasis.
Tanda deka simbanarwa ketis ro ta che lepanalaya ni lepege ta tampo drainage shin chigo pai bana te tampo te la ko ha ta ma ko pai bana ta ko chap kro ro ko chiche ro de tanda ramba shiba dil happy kapsi bana ta ko thak jalam la shu de te ne tampo te la ya lepege na la yo pi ge ten te ne thama te la ya ngasu ge chi loa na la ya ta papa la ya ro that instambala tampo te la ya ta lepa ge ten chi pu de da imbana thama te la loa ge ten ta papa ge ten la sa pangu la jirgu yores mampo la jirgu yores ta de la ya ngasu o la ya nyurche se ge do nyurt chepa zupu mampu chi zupu chashi mampu chi la chepi ge
Did that respond to the question?
Lentesa gela.
Excellent.
Tanda dene ge rimba tangbo nipa de so la tyun jera mi kha ha lang tyun go ya jera de la cheba yore de la che dang dene tanda di ya che ro dang di dang jing so mutation thama che ya dena do rimbe chin stop la chi ga so la ko protein se ya sam cho go ra amino acid ya di stop yang one ge kurang ngo ne so la stop che go ya jera di mutation do ne tanda di pet kurang ka ma thu ya den do de dang ya shamba ya na ro dang da
So two questions. Yeah. First is when you talk about the stages, is there like some kind of time span or duration for each stage?
It's usually by growth, and different cancers grow at different rates. So it's really all about what have they attached to. Are they just in the epidermis, or are they just in a single layer? How large are they? Or what connections have they made to the lymph system or the blood system? That will dictate the stage in which the cancer is. A clearer stage is stage 4, where once it spreads, it's universally known as stage 4.
Ta tanda ke ting wenze che tanda ngasu ke tisola ya karsa tison de de berden der beda za mai ti mai bache de kar system bala ya ko ke thapong ke ta chia skoro da thapong ke chichong ta chia ta kawan jer yo me ta ta la so pal chi gore sta ko ge ramba electronic sumba par to ko len ta te ro ne ta shipa system bala ya ne ta chi kar ta chi yong chep ke khelen chi gore sta dile stambala zupu chashi jendala chabya gungu tu stambala ya ne ramba shiwa tela ya ngina chigores. The other question is when you talk about the mutation, it's because of the I think a nonsense when you have like a stop.
It depends on the type of cancer.
Or there's no stop codon, so that just
So the type of mutation will depend on the type of cancer. Different cancers are tied to different mutations.
That under the inventor or Gala said that and game Vanagasuke, Zoxijam, Gusaza, Joxijabata, Yamana Zoxil, the Maleba attended the Meta Chapel attended, Dinandi Jungu, or Skijit Stambala, Lantica Sena, and Eco Dine mando ala ya ninjir mando yore study jela yan desijagin.
But what is universal is that we have cells with abnormal mitosis and abnormal cell cycles, that they should die, but they don't die.
Ta chirgin bana ro ko thapong na ne thapong kasugre ta thapong na la thapong jinde mai bache thapar da ne kasugre ta tin na ne thapong a su zupon nyigwi che thapong chagwi che chorwa thapong chagwi che ge jingkhor tina tata mandu ni ge thapong te tagres ta thapong chagwi che ge tata mandu system bala ya thapong khashi bana ko tisol system ba shi gugo yorwa shi gu system bala tata yang maswa che yang shi chagwi che de gorwa hotel tane de ko yomares.
So
We want to take more questions? Continue.
Let's continue for a little bit to get to our activity, and maybe later we'll take more questions for the sake of time.
Bisarwa, tadanga su tisu tangzan che cheten da man zanta matu te chigos. Ane getting us tisul haba imainas, and the trottel chigos, and disa eres.
Excellent.
Teyapo.
Good. I like the excitement. So just like I said before, can you all hear me okay? Just like I said before, there are about 200 different cancer types. These are the more common ones that we have throughout the body.
Da tangi shepa na shire sanga sule drene ge ninja la si ore sigores ninja jam si sigores ta di baina tanda de la yopate nga su ge ta chetang ge yongchap ge drene ge khachkins.
And of course, each cancer type, I'm not going to list them all, you can see them. They're all linked to specific organs: the brain, the kidneys, uterus, pancreas, very lethal, I'll talk about this in just a second, gallbladder, breast cancer, thyroid. They're all linked to specific cancer types.
Ta da de kapsim baina nga su ge drene ge min da stambala ya su su de wambo mandola tak duas ta gune man khota baina nga su ge chung lepa ge tene sejndama khema sejndama tene nge sejndama ne chojo de la ya sherman chtoa pancreas chtoa de ta de jena mampu yores tanda de ge tanda sherma tandre sherman tandre ge denete ani ko nyanga chembures ne nga su de je la ya ne de konde sijagens.
So it's very important as people to always get checked by our doctors to test for the incidence of cancer within our bodies for specific organs.
That is tambalaya ane ngasu ge susu ga amjila tempi kaps zupu na la ya skora zupu ge da wampu na la ya chashi susu la ya ne ko dine yu me la sopate takshe che ke chembures.
So let's jump into our activity for today. We have the large pieces of paper here, which we're going to use. Each table, each group is going to draw out the different stages of cancer.
Ta tanda ngasu chego dryens chego dry tela kare yos na ngasu de la ya sho chembu chios sho karpu chembu chios ane ro khasu su ngone ane tanda ngasu drene ge ramba mando wa o data re data ko ramba data ko la remove gres.
So look up a cancer type, have your 5 panels, stage 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and draw out the different stages. And since you're all choosing different cancer types, they're all going to look different.
So they need to draw on a single.
On a single piece of paper,
Okay.
the 5 stages.
Okay.
Sequentially.
Ta chiso karachi gure system bala rukha re ngone dine manda dam gures. Disa dine manda dam dine manda dam lo je la ya tanda shogo de gala shogo kanchi gores rukha re la shogo kanchi gores ne te gala ya ane ramba lekor kare tampo kare nyo kare simba kare shiba kare teta re senta remote gures.
And what we'll do afterwards is we'll put them across the room for everybody to see later today.
Ane titr sanu jela ya ane nga suge tanda chezu trisha jugu remote dus tsukpa ga jar dete ane chamala ya tayo chuzu ya yins.
Okay? So each table, just choose. I'm not going to collect them or, note them down. Choose your cancer type, draw out the stages, and we'll spend anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes on this activity.
Tanda da rukha su ngone chi dine mando ko damro ches ro ti jela ya ne remote ro ches nga su kamanyi su sum chiching de gala tanga yins.
Good?
Disa
Excellent. All right, let's pass out the posters. If you want to give me a hand, thank you. Each table she'll get, I'll give you a few of them. Okay. You can do the back area, yeah. There we go. I can do the front. Excellent. Here you go, my friends. Make the pictures nice and large because we're going to put them across the room, okay?
첨부 드로체스 첨부 닌지모 드로체스 심세 닌지모 라마서 상마 드로체스 야포 드로체스 젠다 탈라자인사
You guys have one? You guys have one? Here we go. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. Good. Thanks. So what I want you all to do on the top of the drawings, put your cancer type. Is it skin cancer, brain cancer, lung cancer? Type it out and then draw out the different stages.
아니 단다로 체수 쇼고게 가가딜라야 체수게 담주게 드네게 리카리 말와 레파나 레파 로에나 로아 투스 드로체스 아니 티고 올라네 로모 드로체스
Kelly, how close are we with the translations for the talk tonight? Are they...
almost done.
Okay.
Last night, and then his contribution this morning.
Perfect.
Then in the afternoon, we launch everything, so you can check.
Excellent. Stomach, perfect. Which cancer are you guys doing? Skin. Beautiful. Yes. Excellent. You guys are doing stomach? What are you guys doing? Stomach. They're doing stomach. Oh, okay, good. Breast? You can do breast. Yeah. Which cancer are you guys doing? Stomach. Which cancer are you guys doing? Liver. Ooh. Nice. Which cancer are you guys doing? Lung. Excellent. Which cancer are you guys doing? Liver. Excellent. So, Dawa, can you let them know in about 2 minutes? I'm gonna start talking. They don't have to finish. You can finish during break, and when we come back, they can also finish.
Ya la so ta kama nyig nang la rawa kare chigi yo pate chawa na ro chis ya tela chi gu mares socha parsang ge jera yo ya ko chma charma sona ya ko kha gona digres ne kama nyig nang la ya tanda te chamcha chi gela la de la khashi chi thya ye sang de shi disa oh ya tasa recommended Ruka nipa sa. Any station to go.
Sure. Yes. Doesn't have to. Just a group number. That's
Yeah, number. Just number. That under take it watch it to Trisano take a gun to a chilla. Ruka antanch your roa. Ruka antanch you put Trishana degrees. Ruka tamponia smasher and a tampo in a chi chetus. Ruka antante you put Trishana degrees. Shogala.
So it's okay if you don't finish, but I need you all to sit down for a few minutes before we go into break.
Oh yeah, that is Takayakos Matsana Kayo Mares. That's how my Yakoroches.
And we can finish once we come back.
That's a such a person jela ya zombie caps how a nana degrees. Tayakosh.
You say. Is that
This
what you say? Yes. What is
Yes,
it?
this one.
This one. What is it?
This one.
This way.
This one.
This way. I'm horrible at speaking Tibetan. I do apologize.
That's good.
So, I was walking around, very nice figures, extremely well done. So I'm looking forward to hanging them up in the room. We can see what you all did. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
Remo pay up to Shas, Jimmy Shoot, Shas, and take a chair like so, ne Casa. Super jet on the Yamton to Satala, Joboya Rivachi. Yes.
I do want to talk about two things. So here we have the more common cancers: breast, lung, prostate, colon, skin, bladder, blood cancer, renal, leukemia, endometrial, thyroid, and pancreatic. As you could see, we have the number of cases in blue and the number of deaths in red.
Ta dela ta bai bana ga so ta dene ge ku ge chapse gar mar do ta dene gana ma pat bai bana ta chishu tirwa te ngombola yo pate ko ta dene chong ge sawa kanda do chi yo meter do ku so rok chi wa che ne marmar na yo pate ta dene la tembe ge chong atir do ga ta te bai na gana ma khuranga su ge ta nama ge dene che loa che tanama ko kale ma khore do suma bana o ola tele shemer do ga dus ko re la ya. So
by looking at this data, and I'll give you all a minute to discuss within your group, which one is the most lethal?
Tanda dela taba imbanas, tanda dela yopige, ane dela yopige pirich doa dela roa, pirich doa. Dela tiba imbana, sonye chishute karendos. Do they need to discuss or?
Yeah, discuss it for about a minute. Talk about it for 1 minute.
Kamachi sira la ya tude jiro che esta. Nyenka chishu de is gorda, nyenka chishu de.
Great.
Yeah, that's all.
So by raising your hands, which one do you think is the most lethal?
Pancreas.
Pancreatic, do you all agree? Pancreatic?
Redes ta nyeka chishiti sonya chishiti tanda sherman doa sherman de doa. Lessons stella ya kilenchigi yo esa.
Anybody have any other answers beyond pancreatic?
Aha tanda sherman menjuge jenda yang len yoni yo esa.
I would argue that it's both lung and pancreatic, and I'll talk about why in just a second.
Aha. Rotada ane de desijagins ta tambo loachi tigile sherman chi te yimbe ge junse te desijagins.
So by sheer number of deaths, we could see that lung overtakes all of them by far.
Aha. Ta tandarwa ngasugi chechen la ta bai bana sta tonirwa. Dinela TV ge toni ge khatang la ta bai bana mangshu te loare doa.
It is a very difficult cancer to treat, but pancreatic, even though it has the lowest numbers, the ratio, it has the highest number of deaths per case.
Aha. Tatanda low imbana shirgi imbana ko mawa cherwa chechen la ma yores rwa. Te yang ko te ga tele nga suga menchi chiguna jian khapuchi chag yores. Ima tanda de ola nga suga sherma tila ta ba imbana ta kuro nacha nani tang chongni inshak paru ga dursela ta ba imbana. Ani ko dursete chyo yores ta. Dikos.
And the reason, this is very important, the reason why it's so universally lethal is because it's very hard to detect. It is only detectable in stage 4.
Ta de ko zara chenbo chaguno ko jinsen ka sonyela tugu yoba jinsen ka reses tambalaya ko te toya la khabu yores nye la khabu yores. Ta nye la khabu yotsa tanda ge shemen ge na la ya dene chompa yamba ko toya te khati tok ke reses tambalaya remba shwa le sona jine tok ke yores.
The symptoms and the pain from pancreatic cancer usually manifest at stage 4, and at this time it's very late and incredibly difficult to treat.
Aha. Ta tanda ge shemen ge dineti imba na ko ge chi neta ta nazula sobate ko dine ge ramba shibal he pickup se jini chlo ngoyong yores. Ta ramba shibal estambalaya ane ko menchi chi khapures.
So net numbers, lung, survival rate, the lowest survival rate, pancreatic.
Aha. Tanga sundina ne ko sonye chishu ka reses tambalaya ane chi yung ge tangkala ta pa imbana chishu te lower res lower ge dinete chagyores roa ne otelaya ngasu nasate chungala tene de ta chuni chialaya ane ko kasu re sachando kasu chiores tile shishe shaba imbana ne nyanka chishu te tanda ane ngasu sherman ge dinete chagyores.
And what is interesting to note is that in India, where we are right now, these are the most common types of cancers across males and females.
Aha, ta tanda de bana jaga nalo sombai bana roa phajusala puche sojala pumuche roa ko nangla ya ane chi dineg nang ne chi chap chi karim badin de ko shayes.
So in males, the most common cancer by percentage is about 11% lung, and in females, unfortunately, breast cancer.
Aha, ta tanda de ko jacha ke nang ne do roan dinne yopi ke nang ne dinne samana na jacha ku shaba na plus sombai bana lo chi pumula bana numag dinne tres.
So fortunately, in India, pancreatic cancer is not one of the more common cancers.
Aha. Ta ya ko tab ya pachila ya ko jagana la ya dinne yorda imbana dingna ne sherman ge dinne te jagana na ha chonyo res.
Good, thank you. So let's take a break. Let's take a tea break. We'll come back. If you want to come back a little bit early, that's okay. I can come back with you. Finish our drawings. We'll hang them and we'll continue with our second session.
Aha. Ta soche person tang ge ins soche person ge yang chi person sama sa ngola yon de to chi remove trigger ba na yon de kores temna yang sun sotan ni ba te sope kapsa ane remote cha sama je te ge la nga chu ge ane suba nga jar chi ane sotan ni ba te go chu ge ins.
Thank you all.